Hey everybody, it's Eric from EPautos.com, your libertarian car guy. Wanted to tell you something I thought was really interesting about this 2025 Prius that touts 57 miles per gallon on average, which is spectacular, particularly given the power and the performance that you get with this car, which is close to 200 horsepower and capable of getting you to 60 in about 6 seconds, which, for the record, is quicker than a lot of the V8 muscle cars that were around back in the 80s and the 70s even. But that's not what I wanted to talk about chiefly. The thing I wanted to talk about was something that I found out about while digging into the specs about the vehicle. And yes, it's true that the Prius does average 57 miles per gallon. However, it's only true of the LE, the base trim. And the reason for that has to do with, well, let me go back a little bit. The other trims, the higher trims, only average 52 miles per gallon. So there's a difference of 5 miles per gallon in the negative if you opt for one of the higher trims that Toyota offers the car in. Why is that? It's the same drivetrain. Well, the answer is because the LE trim is the only Prius that comes standard with 17-inch wheels. The other trims come standard with 19-inch wheels. In other words, 2 sizes taller. And they increase both the weight and the rolling resistance. And apparently they do so significantly, because a 5 mile per gallon difference is not insignificant, particularly with a car like this. And I have to wonder whether this thing would get 60 miles per gallon if Toyota had fitted it with, say, 15-inch wheels. And that'd be an interesting experiment, which I wish I were in a position to be able to perform for our general edification. But anyway, it just goes to show you how much gas is being wasted by these oversized wheels, which everybody now refers to as rims, on these new vehicles. It's a grotesquerie. It's absurd. It really does nothing at all that's meaningfully valuable, in my opinion, to the owner of the vehicle. It's just a cosmetic affectation. To kind of give you some context here and some perspective, you know, I reference my 76 Trans Am a lot because it's useful to reference it. When it was new, it was a muscle car. You know, it was one of the best performing cars that you could buy back then. The point is, it was a performance car, and it, like just about every muscle car that was made during the 60s and the 70s, came with 15-inch wheels, and they did just fine. And certainly a 15-inch wheel was more than adequate for a family car, a minivan, just your basic A to B transportation kind of a car. And certainly for a Prius, what do you need 19-inch wheels for? 19-inch wheels on a Prius, you know, other than, man, look at my rims, which I think is, you know, it's preposterous, and it's so contrary to the purpose and also to the narrative. You know, we hear all the time about how important it is to reduce how much gas we use and to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and all of that, which arise from the burning of gas. Well, one really easy thing that could be done to dramatically increase both fuel economy and decrease the gas emissions of carbon dioxide would be to go back to sensibly sized wheels and tires, by the way, for run-of-the-mill vehicles. I just published something on the site having to do with the Subaru Brat that came out in 78, 79. And why am I talking about that? Well, it's relevant. The Brat, which was kind of a sort of a hybrid car pickup thing, so not the most aerodynamic thing ever, sat fairly high off the ground, but nonetheless, it managed to get 36 miles per gallon on the highway. And why did it do that? Even though it had a carbureted engine, it did not have fuel injection, didn't have a computer, didn't even have an overdrive transmission, at least not initially. Why? Well, one of the reasons why was because it came standard with, wait for it, 13-inch wheels. And those are relatively light compared to 17 or 19-inch wheels, and they impart less rolling resistance to the vehicle. And another perk, by the way, of smaller sized wheels is that you have smaller sized tires, which means less rubber, which means less expense. You know, there are all these positive attributes for having smaller wheels and tires on basic transportation appliance type cars. But then this trend occurred, and, you know, it began in the 90s when it became sort of a rap ghetto thing to have the biggest possible rims that you could put onto a vehicle. and that caught on, and now all the car manufacturers are doing the same. And it's gotten so silly that even in these electric vehicles, which again, nominally we're told that the reason that they're out there is because we gotta be good stewards of the environment, we gotta not to use too much energy. Well, then why are they fitting those things with 20-inch wheels, 21, 22-inch wheels? Think about the rolling resistance of that. God, I bet one of those 22-inch rims and a tire probably weighs more than all four of a 78, 79 Subaru Bratz 13-inch wheels. Anyway, I'll have more about this up at EPautos.com. I've got to deal with a Clover. As you can see, we're going 41 miles an hour here on a road with a 55 mile an hour posted speed limit. I have no idea what's going on with this guy, and I really haven't got the time to waste, so I'm going to say goodbye. See you later, Clover. Bye-bye. And we'll have more for you later up at EPautos and also here on Rumble. And thanks as always for listening. We'll catch up with you in a bit.